Hello folks, I hope that you're having just a great and safe day today in our modern COVID world. Today I'm going to take a look at the next book in the Anne McCaffrey Dragonriders of Pern series. We're going to take a look at Dragonquest. We've already looked at Dragonflight, which was her first book written in the late 70s, and this book was written very shortly thereafter. Anne McCaffrey, for those of you who may not know, set a lot of trends with this series. We'll talk a little bit about those and so forth. As a reminder, this is set on a colony world. It's a far-flung colony world where the people who were looking for a low-tech, sort of like celestial Amish people, if you will. They're looking for low-tech, a level of civilization that they can establish, get their hands dirty, and so forth. But the planet that they choose unknowingly has a celestial body that orbits it every 200 years, and it lets this substance that the locals call thread will get released from this planet, and it's deadly and dangerous to life on the planet. So they develop a way to fight against it. It's vulnerable to fire. So there are these creatures that are local to the planets that are very similar to mythical dragons. You can fly them. You can bond with them psychically, and if you feed them a certain rock, then they will breathe fire, which you can ride then to fly around and to breathe fire, to burn the thread before it lands on the ground, thereby saving the people. And this culture of dragon riders thus will evolve. However, in the first book, the last most recent time didn't actually happen, so Threadfall hasn't missed its time. So many centuries have occurred since the last Threadfall had occurred, is that people believe that Threadfall is not just a myth, isn't something that actually happens, so they haven't been investing in the infrastructure of the Dragon Riders and the ability to fight against it. So when it happens, they're caught unprepared. Ultimately, near the end of the book, one of the people will figure out that dragons not only can teleport from one space to another, but they can teleport in time too. And so they'll actually teleport back in time, and they'll grab one of these weirs, which is what they call basically a dragon home, and they'll bring the people from one of these weirs back after Threadfall to the most recent one, so that they can fight against it, and that will solve and deal with the issue. However, that bringing people back from the past is going to be the central conflict for Dragonquest, because what's going to wind up happening is that the people who come from the back, they were treated by others different ways. They acted differently. They had different cultures. They had different techniques, and so forth. And so there's going to be a lot of bad blood between them. They're called the old timers, and the more recent folks, the ones that were trained, and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of a rivalry that establishes. This book is going to start 7 years after the first one, Dragonflight, ended, and the central conflict of Dragonquest is going to be between these old timers and how they treated people, and how they got respect, and so forth, and the current modern dragon riders, and so it's going to be between these two central cores, and that's going to be your central conflict. The central method of solving them only gave you a different issue to deal with after successfully fighting off the thread. It's not something that has actually solved the problem in any major ways, shapes, or forms. It's just changed what your problem is to bring people back from the past. It wasn't this deus ex machina, but in fact it introduced its own issues. And Anne McCaffrey is a brilliant writer. She's the first female Hugo Award winner. This series won a Hugo Award. This series won Nebula Award. She's the first female winner of the Nebula Award too. This is a science fantasy story, as I pointed out in my first review of the series, because it has scientific explanations for fantasy things. A low-tech colony, psychic dragons, they have to breathe a rock before they can breathe fire. Those sorts of things that make sort of scientific sense, even for a typical science. I mean, you got something. You basically have, people riding dragons and fighting and breathing fire. I mean, it seems like it's going to be your typical fantasy, but it's not. It approaches it from a scientific lens, and so forth. So this was very, very popular. Put Anne McCaffrey on a map in a major way, and her series was a hugely best-selling series of all time. So there you are. That's Dragonquest. I liked it better than Dragonflight. Although Dragonflight's not bad, I gave it a 7 out of 8. This I give it an 8 out of 8 because by now Anne McCaffrey's writing has gotten to the point where it's much more consistent and much stronger. I think this novel is a stronger novel as a result. So there you go. Have you read Dragonquest? What'd you think of it? Have you read any other books in the series? What do you think of them too? Did you agree or disagree with my thoughts and comments? Is there something in the plot you want to discuss in more detail? I would be happy to do that with you in the plot below, in the comments below rather, about talk about any of the details in the plot for you. If you enjoyed this video, please feel encouraged to hit that subscribe button. There's going to be so many more of these to follow. And finally, I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your day and watching my video. We all have so many things happening in our lives, right? So the fact that you spent time out of your day and invested in my video is incredibly humbling, and I really do appreciate that. So thanks again, and have a great day.